Hello, everybody. Well, you all look like you're in the third dimension. Are you? Most of the time? Hey, how you doing? I did hand out some things. Probably if you read that, then I can just go back to my booth and work a little bit more. But I think I'll just do like this. How many people here already know who I am? There's a few of you. Okay. Then I'm going to give you the short version of what I've been doing for the past 25 years. Okay. In 1980, my husband and I joined a spiritualist church. And at that time, in our town, I'm from Springfield, Ohio, at that time things were really buzzing at that church. We were lots of people coming in and joining the church, and everybody had questions. We all wanted to know what's going on, where are we going, who are we really? In fact, my husband and I started questioning things when we first met each other and got married. We said, do you really believe what's written in the Bible? Do you think Jesus was real? Did he really die? You know, what do you think about God? And we would spend time talking. So when his mother talked us into going to this psychic fair at a church, I go, huh? What are you talking about? A psychic fair? In fact, at that time they called them psychic teas. And they did have some people there that did tea leaf readings. So at that time, I was ready to find out some new stuff. And my dad, he was an electrician, an electronic person, a ham operator, and did a lot of things electronically. So he liked to dabble with all kinds of strange things, but he mostly got me interested in science fiction movies and movies like The Haunting on Hill House and that type of thing. So I was always aware of unusual things, even though I was brought up Methodist. I always had a taste for the unusual. So going to this psychic tea at a church was really very unusual for me at the time. But when I got into the church, I realized that there was a whole underground system of spirituality that nobody else in Springfield knew about. And these were people that were showing evidence of life after death. The mediums that worked there would give messages after the main service to different people, from loved ones, from spirit guides or angels, about things going on in their life. That's what I wanted to do. Immediately, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Now, my husband, Charles, well, he just I don't want to give readings. What's that? I want to heal somebody. I want to heal them now. So that was the direction he wanted to go. But the thing was, we both went to the same class. It was a spiritual unfoldment class. And we meditated in that class. And our teacher, the minister, was rather stern about things. It's his way or the highway. Having been brought up as a Baptist himself from the South, in fact, his father was a Baptist minister, he had really made a major step to become a minister in a spiritualist church. And so he had certain set ideas about how life was and how the spiritual world was, and, you know, that's that. So when we went into meditation, went into the unfoldment class, he'd say, well, we're going to sit in these chairs, and they weren't even half as comfortable as these chairs are. They were just the regular old metal folding chairs. And he said, you're going to sit there for an hour, we're going to turn off the light, you're going to be quiet, and you're going to meditate. And that's all the instruction he gave us. So after a while, you know, I'm trying to look at somebody with tall, long legs, okay? You can't sit with your legs straight and flat on the floor. And that's the way I am. I always have to cross my legs. And he said, You can't cross anything, because if you do, you're going to cut off the energies. Spirit won't talk to you if you cut off your energies, okay? I'm in a fix now. I want to do this, but I can't do this. And I got to thinking week after week, and I couldn't meditate, and I couldn't do it, and some of the people just decided to go to sleep to deal with the problem. After an hour of sitting there, straight back, feet on the floor, hands up, on your knees, hands, palms up, I was really having a hard time. And I got to thinking, I used to do this yoga thing in high school where I crossed my legs, yogi style, And I used to do pretty good at sitting like that. I wonder if I could sit that way because my spine would still be straight. So what I did after about the third or fourth week of class, I waited till the lights went out and I scooted down on the floor and I sat cross-legged so he wouldn't see me. And I meditated. And I started getting information. I didn't know that's what I was getting. I just thought my imagination was running around with me. And after a while, I started giving out information that I thought was just my imagination. But somebody in the class would recognize it. And they say, oh, that was Uncle Joe. He used to do that. Or, a name would pop into my head. And slowly but surely, I realized that we all are spiritual mediums. We all are intuitive psychics. We're all getting information all the time because we are spirit. And I said, I see most of you are here in the third dimension, but this is just our transitional suit for the time being. We are spirit. And spirit is everywhere, anywhere, nowhere, all the time, nowhere, anytime. Spirit is multidimensional. Spirit just is, and we are part of that. So what are we doing in this body, this limiting body? How many people have looked at the list of things here on this little paper? Some definitions of knowing dimensional shifting: a feeling of disorientation, not knowing where you are. How many ever feel like that? Like today, where are we? Aches and pains as your body starts to release blocked energy. Well, yeah. Yeah. We have an extra paper. One more paper. If I can go that far. There you are. Well, thank you. And you didn't get one either, did you? Okay. Okay, nobody else can come in the door. So some of the things that we start to experience when we get connected with our multidimensionality again are tripping over things, running into the doorways when they're open wide, but you still run into it. Driving down the street of the neighborhood you grew up in and stopping at the stop sign, and looking up and not knowing where you are. Like, I don't remember that house being there. What street is this anyway? It's because we're so far out of our bodies that we don't recognize what's in the third dimension anymore. Now, how many people came here thinking that I was going to lead you in a meditation so you could go to another dimension? Oh, good, because I wasn't going to do that. Okay. This is like, I want you to recognize that you're already there. I want you to remember and recognize what it's like to be in the third dimension, though. Now, as I was talking about my experience, because I'm kind of floating around here like I'm not in my body, pretty soon I became pretty good at this message-giving stuff, and the minister actually let me practice in front of the congregation. And I'd go to so-and-so, or I'd talk to so-and-so, and I'd give them information. And wow, was I excited, because I was finally tapping in to the spirit realm. What it is that we are already tapping into it. It's just recognizing what it is. Spirit is always giving us information. It's always there. It's just us becoming aware of that at any particular time that we feel like we might need that information. The way I learned it was sitting in meditation once a week with this group and practicing it, getting used to what it felt like. And then I would sit at home, too, with my husband. But this is the kind of thing we're going to have to start doing again so we get familiar with our spirit and our body, because they are two different things. So I became certified in the state of Ohio as a spiritual medium in 1983 through our church. And I started giving messages and readings and sermons. And after a while, then I became ordained as a spiritualist minister here in Ohio. In between all of that time, I became a Reiki master also. I work with color light therapy. I teach meditation as an end result of lots of trial and errors. Because one thing I found out in unfoldment class is that the meditation that they do there is only part way. It's not the full true meditation that we strive for. It's only stopping in the mind stage when we connect in the spirit world. And another thing I found out was that you can cross things and you don't block your energy. The only way energy is blocked is by intention. So if you have the intention that you'll flow perfectly, you can be like a pretzel and you still will have flowing energy. A lot of people will argue with me on that. A lot of people will argue with me, but I found out for sure that made me feel comfortable that I can do this cross-legged. So over the years, I've worked, it's been about 25 years that I have worked as a medium, as a minister, as a teacher with meditation and unfoldment classes of my own. And slowly but surely, I got information to write a book, and it's called The Go-Between, Bridging the Gap. And it's all about you finding out that you are the medium, the go-between, between spirit and the physical third-dimensional world. And part of that book was a dream that I had. Now, we all dream. How many have had dreams? Where are they? Can you show them to me? How come? They're not third-dimensional, are they? They're not in the earth world. So that's a clue right there that we live in a multidimensional world, not just the third dimension. Because dreams are someplace else. They're not in this physical body. They're not even in the brain. The brain is just kind of this mechanism that keeps us connected to our mind, this body connected to the mind. So, dreams are not third dimensional. You can't show them to me. I can't put them in my pocket and take them home and show my husband. But this dream that I had was what I would call a dream presentation. It's something that made me wake up in the middle of the night, straight up in the bed, wondering, what in the world is this? It was really kind of a short dream, but it made a major impact in me. There was a man, and he wasn't in any place in particular. It was just this man, and he scrunched way down, bent way down, and put his arms around his legs in a real tight package, kind of like what we would do as we were children, trying to hide behind something that was really smaller than we were. We thought if we just got a little scrunchier, nobody would see us. And he got real tight like that. And I thought, what is he doing? And all of a sudden, he jumped up. And as he jumped up, his arms went straight out and his legs went straight out, and he went way, way high. And as he reached a height, bits and pieces of him started to fly out. Little boxes, squares of him would fly. Do you have a cable television set and you see sometimes pictures get stuck and then they start to separate in little boxes? That's kind of like what he looked like. He was coming apart like that. And they just flew out into other spaces, and I didn't see them. And all of a sudden, then they all just came back, reintegrated into him, and he was standing. Then I woke up. I thought, what is that? And a lot of times we'll have dreams and we'll go, oh, what was that? And then you turn over and go back to sleep and you don't even remember having the dream. But I wanted to know what it was, so I really asked. I asked my higher self, my guiding spirits, what is this dream about? What is it that I need to know here? And they said, this is Komara. I said, I've never heard of that. Well, this is Komara, and it could be a dangerous thing if you don't know what you're doing. And they told me that as he expanded out, and these bits and pieces of him went out, they all went into different dimensions. Because he had come into a spiritual awareness instantly. We all here are already on a pathway to finding spiritual understanding, knowing who we are as spirit, as soul, as part of the Creator. But this man didn't know. He was in the workaday world. He was just about getting the job done, paying his bills, getting his food for the next day. He was really just ingrained in living in the third dimension. And instantly, somehow, he became enlightened, and he just exploded into these other dimensions. And because he didn't understand where he was or what to do about it, as these pieces came back, and they looked visually like he was back into a normal person again, but they never really connected with him through spirit or mind. The spirit and mind of him never really reintegrated, even though third dimensionally he looked right. So I go, this is strange. I've never seen anything like this. So I start writing my book, and I include this in the book as part of learning who we are, because it's so important that you ask in the first place. And when you ask, you don't always just get one definitive answer. It keeps coming. And even after I finished the book and published it, more information kept coming about this Komara. It is about learning or recognizing that we are already multidimensional beings. We have thoughts that are not third dimensional. We have connections with people that have passed away. We know when they're around us. We recognize them being near us. We have dreams. We have thoughts of the past. Those are not third dimensional. We have a way of planning our future. That's not third dimensional. So once we recognize that we are already that third dimensional self, we don't have to worry about a danger of exploding. We're already part of that. Now, the important thing is that we become more integrated in who we are as a third dimensional being, because we just don't spend much time there anymore. So I want everybody to do some exercises with me. The first thing I'd like you to do is to just sit and look at something. I'm just going to have you do it for a minute or two. Just pick one thing in the room and just look. Okay, I want you to bring your focus back here. Was that trying? It's kind of hard to just keep your focus right there. Now, what started happening when you just looked at one thing? Melissa?
Mind wandered.
Your mind wandered, but could you keep the focus on what you were looking at?
Yeah.
Were you really paying attention to what you were looking at?
Yeah.
But every once in a while it would wander off. Okay, okay. Anybody else have a different experience? Yes.
Everybody else seemed to like be transparent.
Everything kind of just faded away. Mm-hmm.
Blurry.
Yeah, okay. But you kept your focus on what you were looking at, and you remembered that that's what you're looking at? Okay. Gentleman in the back, could I ask you? Yeah, you.
I noticed that other details became apparent to me, not the object that I was looking at, but the surrounding objects. That became more present. I had a hard time focusing on one object when my eyes and my mind wandered on to other objects surrounding it.
Okay, okay, good. Now, I didn't really give you any other instruction, did I? I just said I want you to look at something. And since I talked about meditation, some of you might have thought I meant meditate, but I didn't. Because when we focus on something for meditation, it's so that we can leave where we're at and go to a multidimensional place. What I want you to do is look at something and focus on it and just be in the moment of it. Be in the presence of it. And just see it for what it is. Not what you think it is or what it evolves into or the aura that it's emanating or the spirits that you see flying around it. That's different. That's another dimension. I want you to be in the third dimension, okay? So it's that simple, but it's that challenging because we tend to do everything else except that. You know, there's a really great book that takes a long time to get through if you really take each page to heart, and it's called, what's it called? The Power of Now, yeah, by Eckhart Tolle. And it's a very powerful moment because you are honoring why you are in the third dimension. You are honoring what you agreed to do to be in this limiting body, to be here on the earth. You're honoring that just for the moment. And that moment I had you looking at something should be the moment that you're honoring that one thing. And it's an exercise that you can do every day to remember where you really are now. Because we're only here for a speck of time in the third dimension. But we're here in spirit always and forever. Even longer than that. Even longer before that. We already know that. But we're here to experience the third dimension. And I really feel like each one of us decided to take a piece of spirit and put it in the third dimensional body and be a human being for a while, be a spirit being human, and take the time to experience things from this level, to send back to the Creator or to the whole or to the universe so that it can be all that it is. And the one thing that you're looking at and experiencing in your life may be the exactly same thing you're looking at, but experiencing in a different way. So each body here is a unique experience in the universal plan of life. So we're down here doing our business here. We're on course. We're supposed to be on task doing this third dimensional thing. Now, does that mean that you forget that you're spirit and that you're multidimensional? No. It means that you learn how to maneuver it all together and honor it all at one time. So I've got another exercise for you, and that's to help you focus just on one thing in the third dimension. I'll have you close your eyes now for a count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes and look at the first thing you see. 2, 3, 4, 5. Close your eyes. Turn your head in another direction. 2, 3, 4, 5. Open your eyes and look at something else. 2, 3, 4, 5. Close your eyes. Turn your heads up. 2, 3, 4. Open them up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Close your eyes. And just be in your body for a moment. Take a nice deep breath and connect with the air that goes in your lungs. Honoring the lungs for being third dimensional so that you can exist in this space. Okay, now bring your attention up here. You can do this every day. And you can do it not only just with your vision, but with your hearing. Do you sit in the car and punch the buttons on the radio trying to find a good station? Okay. No. Well, let's pretend we do that. Okay. Okay. Get a radio at home or a tape player or a DVD that has multi-cuts in it. And turn it on for 5 seconds and just listen to what that one thing is on that tape, on that DVD. DVDs are visual, aren't they? CD. See, I'm 21st century deficit. Okay, CDs or tape recorders or whatever has music on them. And listen for 5 seconds. Turn it off for 5 seconds. Then hit another track for 5 seconds. And just be real focused on the listening. And then not listening, and then listening, and then not listening. It'll be amazing how you start to grow from that. Once you start to recognize, wow, I really do live here on the earth. I really am working every day. I am coming home to my house, and this really is a place. It's not just my imagination, although that could be argued as well. But just for this class, we'll say that no laughing aloud in the back row. This can be done with your touching, feeling things. Have a basket of a feather and a stone and a leaf and a cookie. Several different, totally different things. Hold it in your hand and just feel it. Don't see what you can pick up from it. Don't try to find out what the energy of it is. Just feel it with your fingers and your skin. Just feel it. And lay it down. And don't touch anything for a few seconds. And pick up another thing and just feel that one thing. Maybe you never really felt a feather before. Maybe you never really felt the cookie before. It was too, going in your mouth too fast. But just be there in that moment. Because you're always going to be multidimensional. You're always going to be able to go out into the other dimensions. And I want to say that a really important thing about this is that as we move into this new century, a lot of things are going to be changing for us as human beings. Things are evolving and changing. We don't really know what's going to be happening. We've got elders who tell us of the prophecies, and that's about the closest we have to what could really be happening. But wouldn't it be better to know for sure in your own heart, in your true spirit, what to do about any given situation? Now, true enough, I am a medium and a reader, and I'm probably telling you to pay attention to your own mediumship rather than patronizing me. But that's what I'm about, is teaching. I don't want people to rely on me to tell them how to live their lives. I've seen that happen before, and it's not good. I don't want that kind of responsibility anyway. So I want you all to be responsible, and the only way to be responsible is to know what it feels like to be third dimensional. That's your base. That's what you will gauge everything else on. And the only way you're going to know is to practice it, because it's too easy to forget it. It's too easy to move up out of it. So anything else that's happening, if we do start moving into other dimensions, if the earth does actually shift dimensionally, we'll be able to pay attention to that and know, oh, this doesn't feel normal. There's something different going on here. And I won't have to tell you about it. I'll be getting it my own self. You'll be getting it yourself, because it'll feel different. It will feel different. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm teaching people how to be third dimensional again. We come into the world in a very painful way to wake us up to the third dimension. But everything that we've got society happening now, is dull the senses, forget who we are, and so we just zone out into another dimension. We don't really live in the third dimension anymore. But I feel like it's important for us to do that. Okay, how many people feel like they are too far up in the other dimensions and don't really pay attention to third grounding dimension anymore? It's okay if you do. I'm going to give you an exercise. We're all going to stand up, okay? And this is going to be one way to kind of ground ourselves if we get to the point where we're not paying attention to our earth again. And we're going to do this with what I call the multidimensional circle. And I know you're going to think that's kind of backwards saying it like that, but we all know what the sacred circle is, and it's something that eons ago was drawn in the dirt or on a cave wall. But what I feel like it is a spiral that the particular people of that time didn't know how to make. So the only thing they knew was that it was around and around and around, and that's what they did. They made it around and around and around. And the spiral is the thing that takes us where we need to go. If you'll think of the circle, it just goes around in a circle. It doesn't go anywhere. It completes itself, and it is a sacred object, a sacred symbol, but it doesn't take us anywhere. It just keeps us complete. But the spiral goes somewhere. Okay? So if we feel like we're not connecting third dimensionally, we can stand up and we can put our feet a few inches apart, sort of like our shoulders are apart, okay? So that we're very balanced in our stance. Put our hands down with your hands out like this, like you feel a big ball underneath your hands, okay? Each hand. And just stand that way with your knees a little bit loose, not rigid. And imagine a huge spiral starting way up in the heavens, coming down, very large circles at first, and coming down over our crown chakra and gets smaller and smaller as it comes down around our bodies, and it ends up going into the earth. Just imagine energy flowing along that spiral all the way around you, keeping you centered and anchored in the earth. Okay, now that that's complete, what do we do to remember our multidimensionality? What would we do to make it different? The spiral would go up, wouldn't it? Okay, we're going to change our stance a little bit. We'll put our feet together, and we're going to put our hands out like this. Put them together, and then halfway out. Like this big beach ball I talked about is just in between both palms. This is when your heart center is completely open. You're very vulnerable right now. And imagine the spiral coming from the earth. very small like it was when it started, getting larger and larger as it goes around your body. And as it reaches the top of your head and your crown chakra, it just keeps getting larger and larger and expands the whole creation. And we become that multidimensional. We become part of that creation. Okay, you can put your hands down. You feel the difference between the two. We've been doing this all the time. We've been here all the time. And the difference between bringing it back down. You can sit down. Thank you. But these are just 2 exercises. Out of all of these things I've been telling you, they're all things that have evolved from this one dream that I had, Komara. Hey, I went to the computer and I looked. There's nothing about Komara in there, except somebody's last name or the name of a business, okay, like a corporation or something. There's nothing about any of this. And I know different teachers are teaching things similar to what I'm saying, because in every group I talk to, somebody will say, I read a book about so-and-so that goes along with what you're saying. So I know I must be on the right track, but I don't know how incorporated all the information is. It could be bits and pieces of things coming together to make the whole picture. But I'm getting to a point now where I want to ask if there's any questions, any experiences that any of you have had during these exercises.
So you see the spiral is going around you, not through you, it's just going around you. And it's not
Right.
like a double helix DNA.
Don't make it any more complicated than it is. No, I feel like it's going around us in our energy system, but not touching the physical body exactly.
It's not like clockwise or counterclockwise.
So no, it doesn't matter. It's however you're impressed to bring it down or up. I like to keep things as simple as possible, and I teach as much as I can about simplicity. I figure if things get too complicated and we got to write it all down to remember it, then there's probably not a whole lot of truth there or any good that can be done from it if you can't even remember it. So I've tried to break everything down as simple as possible, and I feel like a lot of it here again has to do with intention. Questions? Oh my goodness. Okay. Barbara?
Comment. Whenever I was doing the first one where we were breaking it down, I felt like something was working because I started getting cold chills, but they were only on one side.
Only on one side.
And I thought, what?
Maybe that's the one side that just needed to be waked up.
My stroke side.
Your stroke side, okay. It's still holding a certain energy that's not completely awake yet. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, what can we do now? Answer the telephone. Well, that leads to a fun experience I had. I was teaching meditation years ago. I don't know if any of you remember Whole Life Expos. Some of you I know do. They were huge events. They were conferences and expos, and I mean, they went on for days and days, and they bring in Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and all the big guys. And I was teaching meditation to a class of about 100 people. And this was probably 7-8 years ago. And we were getting to a quiet point in the meditation. I would go through a guided meditation for everybody, which we're going to do at the end of this session. And then after I get you to a point, then I let you go off on your own for a while before I bring you back. And as soon as I let go of everybody to go off into their own thing, a lady over here's telephone went off, la cucaracha, la cucaracha. And the whole place just roared. And I said, okay, this is a learning tool, and now you'll get back to your focus. Because life is like that. I mean, if we're focusing on something, There's always going to be something to get us disturbed or distracted. So we just have to remember how to go back to where we are. This is kind of what's happening with us multidimensionally. We get so distracted floating around somewhere, dreaming about something or remembering what we wanted to buy at the grocery, thinking about the next event we want to go to next week, that we forget to focus on our driving. How many people drove from point A to point B and don't know how you got there? Okay, it's because you weren't in your bodies. Okay, this is an important thing. Oh, my angels were with me. They made sure I got there safely. Well, thank you. But that's not what they're there for. They're there for guidance and reassurance and inspiration, not to drive your car for you. Or they would be third dimensional. What are the guys that drive cars? Chauffeurs. Okay. So you see how important it is for us to be third dimensional in our bodies right now? Even though we're coming to a point where we're going to be going multidimensional, I want to say ballistic. Okay, we're going to be going multidimensional, and the whole schmear is going to shift. Wouldn't it be nice to be aware of what's going on when it happens? I think that's why we're here, is to see it happen and to experience it and get connected with that. Doesn't happen all that much. So let's enjoy it while we can. Okay, what I'd like to do then is take you into that multidimensional meditation. Okay, so I want you to get comfortable. You don't have to put your feet on the floor if you don't want to. If you want to get on the floor and sit down, go ahead and do that. But just be comfortable. The only thing I want to make sure is that your spine is straight so that the energy flows properly. Okay, oh, everybody readjusted that one. Okay, good. So I want you to just close your eyes, because then the distraction is gone. Sounds like we got good background music. So kind of focus on that for a few minutes. But as the music and the beat goes, kind of align your breathing with that. Pay attention to the air as it comes in through your nose, down your throat and into your lungs. Then feel the force that happens when you breathe it back out and you let it go. Take about 3 breaths in beat with the drum. And as you get connected with that solitude, with that special place of quietness, the place that you remember so well, I want you to paint your surroundings. Take a big brush, dip it down into the can of paint next to you. And even though you don't know what color that is, I want you to splash it all around you, on the walls and the ceiling, the floor, the chairs next to you. And see how the colors change. Each brush, each stroke brings about a different color. And they're so magnificent that you will not be able to explain it to me when you are finished with this meditation. Go ahead and complete that picture. Finish the painting. And sit back and enjoy the colors for a minute. And as you watch the changes of the colors, you know that they are bringing in different dimensions. If you put your hand on the blue wall you'll be in one dimension. And you pull it out and stick it over the other wall where it's yellow, that's another dimension. And so you can go in and out, move back and forth whenever you desire it. Experiment with that for a moment. See what it feels like. See what it looks like. Hear the changes as you move from one dimension into the other. Isn't it amazing? And you're just doing this with intention. That's how it is. That's what our world is about. But let's take it one step farther. Let's do something unusual. Take the paint, put it on the brush, and paint your body with it. Let those colors be on you. Now, doesn't that feel strange? You notice how the music has changed. It's evolved along with our dimensions. Experiment with the different colors on your body, where it takes you, what it feels like, how the sounds change. Where do you really go? Just be there for a moment. Okay. Where did you go? How do you get back? Your intention. You want to be back here. It was a wonderful experience where you were, but now it's time to bring your focus back to the room, back to the lecture. And as soon as you start to feel comfortable, I want you to open your eyes and look at me, move around a little bit so I can tell that you're back. Anybody want to dance? I couldn't have asked for better music. I could not have asked for better music. Okay, did anybody see colors? What did they look like? Could you describe the colors? Were they different than what you ever thought you would see? Yes, Barbara.
Mine seemed to be a whole swirling vortex of what's commonly referred to as the Reiki colors.
Okay, okay.
Purples, pinks, everything. And it was just like a panoramic swirl.
Wow.
When I painted my body, it turned out to be the same color, and all but except for my head and my hands disappeared
Right.
into the paint.
Good. Good. You did the shift. Except your head and your hands. Did anybody have a similar experience? Yes, sir.
I oftentimes have trouble picking out a color. I see so many at once.
Okay.
There's so many like sporadic different designs that I
Okay, so you let it work for you. Good. Great. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
By the time we got to painting our bodies with the paint, as I brushed wider strokes, there were stars, and it was more cosmic and gaseous and atmospheric kind of stuff.
Wow, that's cool. Anybody else have something like that? Yes, sir.
When I was painting, it's like every time I did this, like I was compelled to make that same shape with the brush. And when he said to paint ourselves, the intensity of the music went up. And it's like I'm warping. And I was like, wow, you know even works in this background. And I was able to step into the picture.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the music really flowed with the whole thing. I thought that was great. I have to pay them an extra tip when I get done. Okay, I hope that this has been informative for you. I hope it gives you something to think about. And I hope you go home and experiment with these exercises that I gave you. Promise? Okay. Come and visit me. I'm in booth 33. My husband's there doing reflexology. I'm giving readings, and my book's there.